The final round of the Thundersport GB Championships for 2017. We're here at Donington Park on the national circuit for the final two races in the A&R Racing Continental Pre-National 600 Sport and the Freshman class. A championship that was already decided in terms of its champion, Zach Altram, quite some time ago. Now, yesterday there were two races. Pete Ritchie's won both of them, and so Pete Ritchie's, as a result of that, has guaranteed himself second in the championship. The number 64 on pole position, the black bike there that you can see as we wait for the lights to go out. Alan Brooks second on the grid, number 119, had a good day yesterday, and he's moved up now to third overall in the Sport Championship. There are the Sportsmen, Pre-National Sport 600 and the Freshman. I'll try and keep you up to date with that as we go along, as they tip into turn one. As you can see here, we had a miserable day yesterday. It rained here this morning, wet tyres, very much the order, well, let's just say, declared a wet race, therefore tyre option open. Nobody going out there on slick tyres though, or sorry, on the drier option tyres that they have available. Pre-National Sport's been a packed grid all year, as ever, and around Craner Curves we go. Quite a lot of places being made up there. So, Zach Altram champion. He does not race. This is in the Sport Championship. Pete Ritchie's number 64 guaranteed second. Coming into this weekend, Lee McLaughlin, number 24, was in third place. But Alan Brooks, number 119, has moved ahead of him overnight. He has a 17-point lead going into today. In the Freshman Championship, Lee McLaughlin secured that championship from Pete Ritchie's, and it looks like AJ McDaniel will finish in third overall. I think that just about makes sense as someone goes down there over at Coppice Corner. So easy to do in conditions like this. Not quite sure who that was, but we've lost a rider. It's Alan Brooks that leads. Number 24 there in second place is Lee McLaughlin. Robert's just flying down into this chicane on the national circuit named Roberts after Robert Fennell. To the start finish straight there in number 12, Rory Bamford. Into turn number one. Syd, Pre-National 600, settled quite some time ago with Zach Altram. It's been a decent championship as ever, and it's looking like it's probably going to stay that way for next year as well.
Yeah, it's very busy. I think, that was our University of Wales man, Sam Mosley, who might have gone down there on that first lap, we've lost Jane Nixon as well, so it could have been her, I guess. Yeah, I mean, what a success this particular series is. It's unbelievable. I mean, the amount of registrations we've got for next year already, bearing in mind, it's only, it's only October, November. It's, we're looking at possibly 2 grids of these. It's just absolutely unbelievable.
Look at the size there of Lee McLaughlin going down that back straight. He is massive on that 600. Lee McLaughlin and Pete Ritchie's have been the riders that really have made massive steps forward this year. Although it's fair to say Pete Ritchie's is not a big fan of the wet weather conditions.
Well, he's maybe not. I think what you have to remember is that he's completely new to racing this year. In other words, he'd never slung his leg across the bike before this year. I was talking to his dad yesterday about it, funnily enough, but he's just taken to it like a duck to water, really. And I mean, he's blisteringly fast in the dry. So, I mean, getting used to being wet is understandable, really, Steve. Because, I mean, you must have been the same as me when I first went out on a set of wets. I just couldn't believe how much grip you had.
Yeah, well, there was a fair amount of weight on the rear tyre.
All right.
The wet tyres are unbelievable. I'm just trying to work out here whether any riders gambled on a slightly drier tyre. It's difficult to see there, but Lee McLaughlin looks like he might have a slightly drier option. We've got a stationary yellow flag there around Schwantz Curve. There is number 69, Sebastian Spears. What a name that is. Sounds like some sort of MI5 agent there. But it is Lee McLaughlin that has the advantage. Pete Ritchie's just fallen back. There's Sam Ho, number 300. He's going well up inside the top 5. And then just behind him, number 3, Sean Bailiff. So these guys all, it's very difficult to see for this TV camera who's gone for what tyres, who's gone for maybe the drier option or the wet.
I think some have gone for dries because this is race 3 of the day, and since we started at 9 o'clock, there's been no further rain. So the first one was wet. The next one was like intermediates, which was the Thundersport 500s, and now this one. And there is a dry line, as you can see. I mean, it's dodgy offline, obviously, but if you look for the bikes that are trying their best to follow the dry line, while the other ones are trying to cool their tyres down, by going offline, it sort of gives you a bit of a telltale sign there, doesn't it?
There's Liam Dale, number 89. Rich Baker, 101, but that's Lee McLaughlin, your race leader, ahead of Alan Brooks here, number 119. Alan Brooks then has moved up to 3rd overall in the championship as it just started raining again.
Well,
the sun is out. There's a few spots on the camera lens there.
Big dark cloud above, isn't there? Look.
Now that would upset the race a little if we started getting rain again, because I rather fancy the top 2 or 3 have got drier tyres on.
It is misting.
Alan
Steve.
Brooks is looking pretty uncomfortable there in 2nd place, and other riders are now starting to push themselves forward. Number 21 here is Stephen Thomas on that red Triumph, just up ahead of Neil Goodson, number 85.
I'd say that Sam Ho's on dries there. The way he was gingerly going into the Robert chicane.
Alan Brooks there was taking onto the wet track, so I don't understand if it is started to rain, then he'd probably be in a better position if he's got wets on. Like we say, we repeat here, it's hard to say exactly what tyres everyone's got at this moment in time. We ride here with Callum Scott, one of our Royal Navy riders, through this final chicane at Donington Park and onto the home straight. The old national straight, of course, there used to be the chicane right up towards Goddard's. It has changed since all those years ago.
It's more flowing now, isn't it? I like this circuit.
Yeah, much more flowing. It means you're on the start-finish straight for a wee bit longer as well, which opens up the door to more overtaking opportunities. This is a good battle here going on for 2nd place as conditions worsen. Neil Goodson there trying to find a way past number 3, Sean Bailiff. Up towards Coppice they go.
Well, they're all trying to watch each other to see who's got the bottle to go what speed round each corner, aren't they?
They're all going to have to go some to catch Lee McLaughlin at the moment. He's absolutely flying out front, the newly crowned freshman champion of this class.
But of course he is the guinea pig, Steve. You know, it's... The trouble is, if you get a little rainstorm on one corner, that's where it catches you out in this kind of weather, particularly with this wind, and that can happen. So it can be dry as a bone here on the start-finish straight, and you get down at the old hairpin, and a little, you've had a little bit of drop of rain there, and bingo.
I rather fancy that Alan Brooks has got wets on, because he keeps on opting for the wettest possible line on the start-finish straight. A number of these other 600s all heading now down into the chicane. There is number 78, Carl Seaton from Berry.
Well, despite the temperatures not being up, Steve, that will still burn. 600 will burn these tyres up if they're wet.
There is Alan Brooks just up ahead of Bailiff, and there is Sam Ho, number 300 as well. Dry lines are appearing, but there is still a little bit of spray, as Sid said, in various parts of the circuit. Really awful conditions. It's probably the worst you want as a rider. Lee McLaughlin's lead is being cut down. There is Stephen Thomas on his Triumph. He is catching the race leader, Lee McLaughlin, here. Pete Ritchie doesn't look like he's going to score any points at the moment. He's fallen all the way outside the top 20. So it's a bit of an issue for him, although he's pretty much sorted in the championship. He's going to be second in both the pre-national Sport 600 and in the freshman overall for 2017. Here is Stephen Thomas then, just closing all the time here. He must be making about a second per sector here. And Neil Goodson, number 85, is also on a good lap. Battered and bruised. His Yamaha looks, the rider from High Wycombe. BDR Yamaha looking like it's got a bit of patchwork on it. There it is, number 85.
It was a high rate of attrition yesterday, I have to say, and the test day, to be fair.
Now, Stephen Thomas there in second place on the red bike. I just saw enough patterns on the rear tyre to suggest that he might actually be on wets. So if it is spraying a bit with rain, that might explain why he's catching Lee McLaughlin, who, when it was slightly drier at the start of this race, looked so much more comfortable. The rest I can't quite work out. Around Redgate we go, through Hollywood, dropping then down into Craner Curves. There is Lee McLaughlin, still leading this race. Number 24, the rider from Leeds, up towards Coppice Corner. And there are the other two chasing him, Stephen Thomas and Alan Brooks. Another rider going well in this race is Lewis Roberts, making good time actually on that Royal Navy Yamaha. There is AJ McDaniel, just saw briefly, number 49.
Our Texan friend.
This is a little colder and wetter than Texas normally is, that's for sure. Onto the start finish straight we go then. Lee McLaughlin's lead is going to be short-lived here. Onto the home straight and pulling out of the slipstream immediately. There goes Stephen Thomas. He moves up into first, and Lee McLaughlin might lose second as well as Neil Goodson looks to try and take the inside line into Redgate Corner. It's a bit tight there. Lee McLaughlin opting for the tinted orange visor for this race. You don't see too many of them these days. But the race was looking rather rose-tinted for him in the early stages. Around Craner Curve we go. So it's now Thomas on the Triumph leading the two Yamahas, McLaughlin and Neil Goodson. Lee McLaughlin's fastest lap was a 23.3, but that was on the opening lap. So obviously he had a lot more confidence at the start. You can hear the wind blowing through at McLean's here. McLaughlin's not giving this one up. In fact, he attacks there on the power early. There's a lack of adhesion flag. Well, ain't that the truth around this circuit at the moment over at Coppice Corner.
Yeah, that means that we've got some rain that's starting to affect the surface then. I noticed we didn't see that, but we lost Michael Coxon there on lap 3. So that affects... It's AJ McDaniel, Steve, come on, you're the scout boy.
Yeah, AJ McDaniel is pretty much settled for third here in the championship.
Michael Coxon was behind him, wasn't he?
Yeah, AJ McDaniel looks set for that. As we just go into turn 1 here, it's getting very tricky. And Lee McLaughlin, very brave through turn 1, but wiping his visor there. And they all bunch up again. Stephen Thomas in second place, still Neil Goodson there in third. A bundle of riders here. I don't know what's happened to Alan Brooks here. I really don't. He started the race off so strongly, and it's just fallen away from him completely. Stephen Thomas has taken a rather unique line there. He's dropped back to third. Neil Goodson now in second there. The number 85 has started to look a bit stronger. And in fact, Goodson just put in his fastest lap of the race, and it was the fastest lap of the race, at 21.7. So is it a matter of time before he makes his way through? They're just putting a lap there on Robert Gawthorpe. Up towards Coppice we go, and Stephen Thomas now looks like he's struggling to stay in touch. What a strange race this has been. There is Alan Brooks. He's fallen now outside the top 10. He's still looking to try and finish, of course, third in this championship. Now, coming into this race in the pre-national sport, Brooks had a 17-point lead ahead of McLaughlin in the battle for third overall. But McLaughlin, here he is, number 24, who has just fallen out of nowhere all the way back. He made a mistake then. McLaughlin's just completely fallen out of contention.
Yeah, well...
I can't keep up with what's going on here.
Yeah, he has fallen right back. He must have made a mistake somewhere, Steve.
Well, the last lap flag is out, and quite honestly, I haven't got a clue what's going on.
He's either knocked it right off or he's had a moment.
Well, Neil Goodson is leading. Stephen Thomas is there in second place. There's a big group of riders. Number 12 there, just pulling to one side. That's Rory Bamford. He's had enough. He's seen enough. So that would promote Lewis Roberts up to third. Yeah, it is.
Quite hard again now.
Lewis Roberts, there he is, number 56. He goes through into third. Sam Ho into fourth. Lee McLaughlin then has dropped down to fifth. Then it's Bailiff. It's Liam Dale ahead of 63 Thomas Holmes. You've got Martin Palmer in there as well.
I reckon Lee hit this rain on the last lap, and he's on the wrong tyres and thought, do you know what? I'm knocking this down a bit.
Well, the thing for him is, with Alan Brooks being a bit further back, here is Alan. That means it'll be about a 10-point haul. That's no, 7 points he'll make on Alan Brooks, which means it'll be 10 between them going into the final race of the season this afternoon. There's Sebastian Spears again. He's in the points. Well, the checkered flag is out. What an unusual race that has been. It's a win for Neil Goodson. Coming into this weekend, Neil ninth in the championship. Now, I'm not sure. That might be Neil's first win of the season.
Well, he had a dreadful day yesterday, as to be said, what with jump starts and dumping it and God knows what else. So it's nice to see him get a win there.
Yeah, he wins it from Stephen Thomas. Lewis Roberts is third. Sam Ho finishes in fourth place ahead of Lee McLaughlin, and Sean Bailiff is in sixth. So on the podium there, Neil Goodson, Lewis Roberts and Sam Ho, our pre-national sport podium. And in the freshman class, we've got there Stephen Thomas, Lee McLaughlin and Sean Bailiff as well. One more race still to go. Join us for the final race of the season in a couple of seconds.
Continental, get the grip.
Final race of the year coming up then, 2017, done and dusted. Slightly drier now, still a bit cold and breezy. Pete Ritchie's lines up on pole position, looking to try and see out the year on a high. Second in the championship this year, second in the freshman as well. Not been a bad season for someone who was new to bike racing in general. Alan Brooks, well, he fell back a bit in race one, number 119. He comes into this one, if my maths are correct, with a 10-point lead over Lee McLaughlin, number 24, in the battle for third in the PNS 600 championship overall. The champion, Zach Altram, not out there, doesn't need to be. Wrap this up quite a long time ago. Lights go out then. Good start there for a number of riders, but not for the pole man. Pete Ritchie's number 85 got away really well. That is Neil Goodson, and that's a different bike. Neil Goodson's on to the one that he won the first race in. I don't know what's happening there. Yeah, no idea what's happened there. Why he's got a different bike. Sid, any ideas?
No idea at all, Steve.
No? Well, he's gone pretty hot there into...
This is Neil Goodson we're talking about. What? Anything could happen.
Oh, that was a bit naughty. Lee McLaughlin there was out of control going down into the old hairpin. And we've lost a rider already. I'm not sure what number that is for the rider. Is that 145, Daniel Forbes? That was Lee McLaughlin's crash. He came in and just couldn't get his bike stopped.
Bless him, that was a shame.
Yeah, and a nasty move there, and rider knew nothing about it. But, well, there we are. Lee McLaughlin getting himself involved in some fun already. The number 24, it is Pete Ritchie's that leads this one. Then number 64 front pole position, Neil Goodson in second. Number 85, but not for long because Alan Brooks has just moved up ahead of him. Looks like a Suzuki that Neil Goodson is riding in this one. There is Lee McLaughlin just making a move up ahead of number 23, Andrew Evans. Onto the start-finish straight we go then. Vast majority of these riders in this field have not been in racing that long. So there are one or two interesting moves, shall we say, that you will see pulled off.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, but I do also think it's important to have both of the classes, like the freshman and the sport. I mean, the sport is kind of still a rookie class, but not as rookie as the freshman, you know, because the freshman has got to be like your first year of competition, basically. That's roughly where it is.
Look at him. He's absolutely. I'm sorry, Sid. I mean, in this particular race, Lee McLaughlin, a worthy champion. The stats don't tell lies. He's absolutely out of control here in these first couple of laps. His lines coming around some of those corners. Well, I tell you, he is big and brave, but it looks like he needs an anchor to stop the bike going into some of the corners. This is Alan Brooks then, with Neil Goodson just up behind. I've just had notification that there is a 10-second jump start penalty for Goodson as McLaughlin continues to carve his way through the field. There's Liam Dale. He's just gone past. Of course, he wants to try and finish ahead of Alan Brooks here, Liam McLaughlin, so you can understand why he's trying to head north. There is Goodson up the inside of Alan Brooks, so no matter what happens here to Goodson, there who has a major wobble on the inside of the curb. Oh, dearie me. He will get 10 seconds added onto his time. They're all trying to chase down the race leader, Pete Ritchie's, as we speak. There's 101, Rich Baker, just behind AJ McDaniel. Earlier on, you just saw Kieran Forbes in the gravel. So both Kieran and Daniel Forbes, their races lasted just over a lap each. That's the end of that one. There is number 45. That's Chris Curtis up ahead of AJ McDaniel. There is AJ. Number 48 there. Just behind AJ McDaniel is Martin Palmer. So there is 24 ahead of 23. Lee McLaughlin still out there ahead of Andrew Evans. Up towards Coppice Corner we go.
I think Neil is trying to do his utmost to get in trouble with the race director after a yellow flag infringement yesterday. And jump start today, it's like doing his very best to get penalised.
Look how late Lee McLaughlin is on the brakes there, and he manages to go underneath Neil Goodson. He moves up ahead of him. So Lee McLaughlin, who towers over that Yamaha machine, he may have some interesting lines, but they seem to be working for him.
And who just beat the lap record by 3/4 of a second in the freshman. And that would have been a lap record. But yesterday, Pete Ritchie's beat the lap record by 1 1/4 seconds. So that didn't stand for anything.
No, okay, well, they're all going pretty sharp in these cool conditions. Lee McLaughlin's just ticked off another rider there. He's gone past Alan Brooks. Of course, a rider that came from this champion. I'll tell you, actually, there's a couple of riders that have made their way through Thundersport that had some, shall we say, choice lines that they used to take, but have developed into very, very handy motorcycle riders at Thundersport. One of them is Goodall, Robert Goodall.
Yeah.
He used to have some funny old lines. Someone's gone straight on. That's not a great line. Into Coppice Corner, onto the gravel.
I think he's held it
That
up.
is Lee McLaughlin. He's not managed to get it stopped into Coppice Corner.
Wow. Well, there you go. You kind of talked that up, really, didn't you?
Well, that has really, really hampered him, because Alan Brooks, just up ahead of him here, is going to go across the line, and Alan Brooks is going to take third in the P&S Championship as a result of that. Lee McLaughlin ain't catching him now. Now, McLaughlin, provided he hasn't crashed, can rejoin, and has. Here he is, number 24. He's just bitten off a bit too much there.
What's he got to do, Steve?
He needs a miracle. At the moment, he would need Alan Brooks, number 119 here, to not finish the race, and he would then need to finish inside the top 10.
Well, that'll be a long shot, because Alan is, if he's good at one thing, it's finishing. He's a fast lad, but he's really sensible as well.
Well, McLaughlin's lost too much ground. He's not going to be finishing here. McLaughlin, sorry, no, he needs 6th or better, and then Brooks not to finish.
No, that ain't going to happen, is it?
It's not. McLaughlin could still, in theory, finish inside the top 10. He's got the pace to do that. He's the fastest rider out on circuit.
What did he need before? Is that the reason he was riding like an idiot?
He was riding like a man possessed. Here he is. Ride it like you stole it is the claim. He needed to finish ahead of Alan Brooks, and he needed to beat him by more than 10 points. So
For this bloke, though, I mean, like, he's gone, isn't he?
yeah, Pete Ritchie's looking pretty good here. Neil Goodson is in 2nd place on circuit, but don't forget he will get a 10-second penalty. Sam Ho's also having a good race, as well as Sean Bailiff. Nick Barnes is
He's
up
come on
there
well,
as
hasn't
well.
he? Sorry, Sam Ho, isn't he, this year? I mean, when you think, looking back, I mean, he was, struggling at the beginning of the year.
Here he is.
But he's absolutely really come on song, I reckon.
He has, yeah. Good, well turned out bike as well.
Oh, it's beautiful. And his
leathers all.
And his race truck, everything's lovely. Really, really nice.
Good to see. There is Neil Goodson there, number 85. Alan Brooks just behind him. Does Alan Brooks know that Neil Goodson's got a 10-second penalty? I'd say probably not, because Alan Brooks here charging up the inside around Schwantz curve to move up into 2nd place in this race. There's little does he know that Lee McLaughlin's efforts have been spoilt over at Coppice Corner, so third in the championship it will be by the looks of things for Alan Brooks, who came into this weekend in 5th in the championship. So Alan Brooks has done exactly what has been asked of him.
Done well, hasn't he?
So here is Brooks and Goodson. Goodson will not be finishing on the podium here unless he can build up a 10-second gap over the riders in 4th. At present, that does not look like it's entirely possible, although they are lapping a lot quicker than the guys behind. There is 3rd and 4th. Here is the group that are then directly fighting for the remaining podium places. Number 79 in there as well. That is Nick Barnes. 157 there. Oh, blimey!
Oh.
And that's gone horribly wrong.
Dear.
Stephen Thomas getting caught up. Liam Dale into the gravel trap as well. 157.
That got hooked on the back of the bike, didn't it?
That's short Robert Gawthorpe as well. He goes on, and Liam Dale has fallen as well as a result of that. What an absolute disaster that was. Into turn number 1. Stephen Thomas, who, of course, was coming into this weekend 5th in the Freshman Championship, has not really done himself any favours there. Let's see what happened. But I don't think either rider saw each other. I mean, they were both taking completely random lines into turn 1.
There was some serious luck went on there, I tell you.
Riders, he's really lucky not to get picked up and run over. Meanwhile, there's Sam Ho up ahead of Nick Barnes and Sean Bailiff. So this is basically the new battle for 3rd, because Neil Goodson will pick up that 10-second penalty.
I'll tell you what, when you spoke about Liam Dale earlier and he was in shot, one thing I noticed about his rear tyre was almost flat. I mean, I know these on Pirellis, they do run them nearly flat, but like obviously with these, you know, being online here, you can replay that back, and it'd be worth people just having a look at that, because it really looked like it was flat. That wasn't anything to do with the accident, but you know, that was, you know, completely different.
Well, it looks like Sam Ho here is going to be on the podium in this race.
Oh, he'll be delighted, won't he?
Yeah, he might not know about it though, because Neil Goodson will take a 10-second penalty, so Sam will inherit that. This man here, no one's caught him. Pete Ritchie's had a really good year. 2nd in both championships it will be for Pete. So keep an eye on this number 64 going into the future. Lee McLaughlin, well, congratulations to him on winning the Freshman Championship, but unfortunately today results have not gone his way. He will not be able to hang on to a top 3 spot in the overall pre-national sports standings.
When you think that Pete hadn't even been doing track days or anything before this year, he's come into this cold and then just found that he's good at something, and he's absolutely loving it, as is his dad. And he looks just like his dad. His dad's just a grey version.
Well, here he is. Checker flag is out, and he takes it. It's the win for Pete Ritchie's, and he's a tall boy as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Pete makes that triumph look small, but I'm sure he's delighted to end the year with a race victory. No one came close to touching him there in that race. Pete Ritchie's then the runner-up in both championships this year, new to racing, and a win to end 2017. Alan Brooks, congratulations, 2nd in that race. That's good enough for 3rd overall in the championship, and Sam Ho there does take a podium in 3rd. Bailiff was 4th, Nick Barnes 5th, Neil Goodson was in 6th place. In the freshman then, Pete Ritchie's, sorry, that is the sportsman. There's Pete Ritchie's in the freshman class from Sean Bailiff. And these are the championship standings at the end. Zach Altram wrapped this up so long ago. Pete Ritchie's, who is a freshman, finished in 2nd ahead of Alan Brooks. Lee McLaughlin missing out, then finishing 4th. Will Harper 5th. Paul McDonald in the end 6th. And in the freshman championship, Lee McLaughlin was the eventual winner from Pete Ritchie's. And I'm sure AJ McDaniel is over the moon that he's ended 2017 inside the top 3 also. That's it for us for this year. Thanks for joining us in 2017. We'll see you bright and breezy next year for 2018.